Hi guys, it's Mrs. Gerhart. I just finished grading your data table and graphing, and there are a couple of things where you clearly struggled. I want to be sure to go over those with you. Remember, this is an honors course. We will be moving quickly, especially for this Nature of Science review. It's expected that you understand and know most of this, but it's also expected that you are doing the assigned reading, both on the modules and in the Green Book. From some of your performances, I'm led to believe that you're not doing that reading. So I want to look at investigations number 1 and 2 with you because 3, 4, and 5 follow a similar pattern. So let's get started. Investigation 1 says that a seed was planted. As the plant grew, it was measured over a 6-day period. So the first thing that I want to do is create my data table. All data tables need a title. So this would be plant growth over time. And then for science, we use the format independent variable on the left, dependent variable on the right. The reason for that is that it gives us an XY ordered pair so that when we go to put it on our graph, we don't have to change or manipulate anything. So I'm going to draw my t-chart here. Now my independent variable here is time. Okay, so I allowed time to pass. So days would be my unit. Time is my column heading. My dependent variable, let's look back up here. I measured plant growth in centimeters. So growth in centimeters. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Let's see if I can remember these numbers. 0, 2, 5, 7, 8, 10. 0, 2, 5, 7, 8, 10. One of the things that a number of you did incorrectly was that you would write your units in the actual column. We don't do that. We put it in the column heading and we leave it there. We assume that anything in that column then is using that same unit. It's redundant for me to put centimeters in my column heading and then put it in every single one of my cells on my data table. So the two biggies that I saw for you guys were a lack of title and then that repetition of units inside the data table instead of just leaving them in the column heading. So let's look at investigation 2. So this one is another one with plants. Tomato plants were grown at various temperatures. The number of tomatoes that grew on each plant was counted. Okay, so first thing I need to do is come over and put my title. So number of tomatoes at various temperatures. Following the independent on the left and the dependent on the right. My independent is going to be temperature, and my unit is degrees Celsius. My dependent is going to be number of tomatoes. All right, what temperatures did I use? 8, 12, 16, 8, 12, 16, 18, 22, 24. Okay. Now again, I'm not putting degrees Celsius in here because it's redundant. I have already told my reader in my column heading that you are going to be looking at temperatures in degrees Celsius. So get rid of those. Okay, number of tomatoes. Let's see, what did we grow at various temperatures? I have 4, 10, 14, 18, 24, and 16. Okay, so that's kind of it for data tables. As long as you followed those basic principles for 3, 4, and 5, you would have also been fine. Let's come down and take a look at the graphing. So my directions say to use the 6 data tables you created in the previous activity to make a line or bar graph. Remember to give each graph a title and label each axis. Fill in the space as completely as possible. All right, so for investigation 1, we looked at plant growth over time. In science, we do our independent variable on X and our dependent variable on Y. How do you remember this? Dry mix. Dry stands for dependent or responding, goes on Y. Mix stands for manipulated or independent, goes on X. So based on this principle, I know that my time in days is going to go on my X. Sorry, I'm sure you can hear me moving the iPad. And then this is going to be plant growth in centimeters. Okay. So now let me get my intervals down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it looks like we could probably go up by ones. All right, because I am dealing with time, I'm going to use a line graph. Line equals time. If I don't have anything dealing with time, then I need to pick a bar graph. So most of you properly identified that yes, this was a line graph, but a number of you also improperly identified and used a line graph for the other investigations. Newsflash, all 4 of the other investigations were actually bar graphs. They didn't have to deal with time. So we have 0, 2, 2, 3, 5, 4, 7, 5, 8, and 6, 10. Okay, am I done? Your answer should be no. This is not a line graph. It is not a line graph until I connect my points and make a line. Now we're done. Okay, let's move on to investigation 2 as another sample. So for investigation 2, we were looking at how many tomatoes grew at various temperatures. So tomato growth at various temperatures. My X, or my independent in this case, was temperature. And they were kind of a weird set, so you don't need to go up by a standard interval here. I recognize that that's kind of one of the issues with this assignment. Okay, now I'm not done here because it says temperature, but I have 8, 12, 16, 18, 22, 24. Well, what is that? Is that degrees Celsius, degrees Fahrenheit, Kelvin? I've got to label with my units as degrees Celsius. On my Y, or what I measured, my dependent variable here is going to be the number of tomatoes. I counted tomatoes here, so I don't actually need to put a unit, whether it's in centimeters, millimeters, or anything like that. And let's come up, just make sure we get a good interval. Okay, I think we can go up by 2s here. So 2, 4, Okay, now, am I dealing with anything changing over time with this graph? No, I'm not. So this means that I have to use a bar graph. Remember, line equals time. So at 8 degrees, we grew 4 tomatoes. $12 was 10 tomatoes. $16 degrees was 14 tomatoes. $18 was 18. Okay, so there is my bar graph for the number of tomatoes that were grown at various temperatures. I hope that this screencast helped clear up any problems you may be having. As always, please be sure that you are doing the assigned reading, both in the modules and the green book as it is assigned. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.